What's happening, everybody? Sean Daniel with Guitar Control here, and today we're gonna work on some cool little finger style guitar stuff. It's really not like a finger picking lesson so much as it is just a way to kind of play chords finger style in kind of like a cool, kind of jazzy way. So it's gonna be an exercise you can use. You might learn some new chord voicings, or at least, you know, you maybe just kind of like get a different perspective on how to play using your thumb and your fingers. So make sure to click the link below to grab the tab for all this. But eventually the whole thing is gonna sound like this. All right, so what we've got here are 4 different chords, 4 different voiced chords, and then we have kind of like a thumb and a finger with a little bit of a percussive slap. So right off the bat, we're gonna start with this chord right here. C major 7. If you ever see just a regular C major, a lot of times you can replace that with a C major 7 chord to get a different kind of vibe, maybe like a smoother, more mellow vibe. Some would say jazzy. A really easy chord. It's actually easier than a bar chord. It's the 3rd fret on the A string, the 5th fret on the D string, the 4th fret on the G string, and the 5th fret on the B string, okay? So we have those middle 4 strings are being played. Now, the real trick to this, to get it like this, to get it to sound like this, comes from your picking hand, okay? Now this is rooted on the A string, so your thumb is responsible for hitting that, striking that A string. And then your next 3 fingers, your pointer finger, your middle finger, and your ring finger, are gonna be responsible for the next 3 strings down. So we've got, your thumb is on the A string, your pointer finger is grabbing that D string, your middle finger is grabbing the G string, and your ring finger is grabbing the B string. So, eventually we're gonna get to hitting the low E string too. So your thumb is actually gonna have kind of double duty in this way. But you'll notice that a lot of different guitar chords are rooted on either the A string or the E string. This is something that's really valuable. You're going to be able to do, and it's almost like we're actually ignoring the high E string. There is a time and a place for it, but right now we're just kind of really focusing on those middle 4 strings. So now let's kind of create a pattern with that. What we're going to do is we're going to hit your root note first, and then the 3-finger kind of chord after that. And then we're gonna come down on the string set and then all together. So root, chord, hit, chord. And then another percussive hit. And then now after that second percussive hit, here's the first one, then the second one. Sometimes I like to kind of hit maybe a muted thing with those fingers again, or even just kind of get that chord on an upstroke, just to kind of give a little bit of pep to it. So it's kind of like this chain reaction, you know, almost kind of like how a fingerstyle pattern. It's the same thing, but with a little more percussive element into your playing. Now, another thing we can do is do this on a different chord voicing. So we're gonna keep this kind of in the same key. This is a C major 7. This next one is gonna be rooted on a D note, the 5th fret of the A string. And this is gonna be kind of like, this is gonna be like a D9 chord. If you've ever played these really cool chords. So the 5th fret is the D note on the A string with your middle finger. Your pointer finger is gonna grab its major 3rd. The D string, the 4th fret. Your ring finger is going to grab the 5th fret, which would be the flat 7 in this chord, on the 5th fret. And then your pinky is going to go right behind it, which would be the 9th note in the D scale, which is really the 2nd note, which is an E. Okay? Something that sounds really cool. Same pattern is going to go on top of this. Now notice sometimes before that second percussive hit, I'm gonna get a little bit of the chord again. And I'm doing that with my pointer finger, just upstroking it. All of this is variable. You can do any kind of variation you want, but this is just one kind of style that I use a lot myself. I've seen a lot of other players use. And it's kind of like a fun way to maybe add a little bit of life into you're strumming fingerstyle playing. So now we can go back and forth between these two chords, C major 7 to D9. And just go back and forth between those, even if it's super slow. Now, one thing that you can do, because it's not super easy transitioning so quickly between all these chords, is you can get an open string set in between. So what I mean by that is, now that's an exaggeration of, but sometimes that little open string set buys you time to get to the next one, all right? Now we're going to continue on through this key and grab something on the 7th fret of the A string. So we're going to root here. It's going to be the exact same shape as before, 2 frets higher, but you're going to move your pointer finger back 1 fret. So now it's 7A, 5D, 7G, 7B. This is an E, here's our root note, E minor 9 chord. So here's a C or a D9, and then by changing that, we have a minor 9, E minor 9. So C major 7, D9, E minor 9. Go back to D9. Now we just kind of have this 3-chord progression that we're working. It's got a cool mellow vibe, but now let's add a 4th chord, and the reason I want to add this 4th chord is because we're going to root something on the low E string, right? The E and the A string, like I said before, are the most common strings to root any kind of chord voicing. So let's kind of do something in the same ballpark as this. Let's make it a B minor 11 chord. Okay, another cool voicing. The great thing about all the voicings we're learning in this video, major 7, dominant 9, minor 9, minor 11, all these are movable. So the open strings aren't helping us, which means you learn one shape and then you can root it on any of these frets. So it's kind of like learning 12 different chords with just one shape. So now this chord, our root note is middle finger on the 7th fret of the low E string. We're going to skip the A string. Ring finger 7th fret on the D string, pinky 7th fret on the G string, pointer finger is grabbing the 5th fret on the B string. Now you'll notice everything is the same, but instead of hitting the A string first, my thumb is going to hit the low E string. Root chord all together. So now we have a 4-chord progression, which a lot of progressions happen in groups of 4. Symmetry is the magic word in most songwriting. So let's start at the beginning. C major 7, D 9, E minor 9, B minor 11. Remember, we said this is all variable. However you want to pick it, you could just go, I'm just picking them one note at a time. The cool thing about these extended chord voicings is they offer something a little bit different than just regular triad, just major or minor chords. A triad is a 3-note chord. These all have at least 4 different notes, which is kind of, it's a good way to maybe start training your ear into hearing different sounds, different class chords, different extended chords, as they're called. However you want to end up playing it. Now, we don't even have to play it in that order. We can switch them around. We can start with the D to the B, C, E. Any kind of way you want to arrange these is going to sound good because they're all really kind of technically in the same key. And what key is it? It's actually the key of G, right? So we didn't even play a G chord, but these are different notes, different chords in that progression. If you want to learn more about that, I actually did a class with Guitar Control about just kind of like learning chords and numbering them through chord scales and stuff like that. Check that out if you're interested. I've got other videos on that myself too. But really the main thing of the lesson is just to try to find something different. Maybe add a little bit of percussive playing. It can kind of make your chord playing a little more lively. Even if it's the same chord. lot you can do, and that comes from breaking a chord up to the digits of your hand, adding a little bit of a percussive flair, and then learning different chord voicings. And it can really, you know, maybe if you feel like you're plateaued in a certain spot, I know that it really helped me out to kind of, I don't even fall in love with the guitar all over again, because sometimes, like I said, you feel like you plateau. I think learning different rhythms, different maybe styles of playing, different chord voicings, different ways to play stuff that you've already seen before, and then extending them with these different chord voicings is really a great way to start just, you know, expanding your own musical vocabulary and just enhancing your musicianship. So anyways, hopefully you learned something, and if you liked what you saw, let us know in the comment section. Let us know what else you guys want to see, and definitely make sure to click around on the other videos we got here by myself, other great instructors on the Guitar Control channel, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.